Someone said that they feel so lonely, and they're asking what can they do to cope with this feeling of loneliness. The solution to this loneliness is found when you are alone. There's loneliness and then there's aloneness. The two are different. Loneliness is the absence of others. Aloneness is the presence of yourself. When we're on this journey, there's this feeling of loneliness. Things just start falling away. This relationship, this job, that job. Just starts feeling like things are falling away. And it can get very lonely. These others in our life start becoming absent. And when we're always trying to create new relationships or cling to those relationships that are falling away, it's always this effort to prevent us from feeling this loneliness. Where actually the solution to this loneliness is discovered by being alone, where you embrace being alone. Because it's by being alone that you discover the presence of yourself. Once you discover the presence of yourself, you are no longer lonely. You can be totally alone, but never feel lonely. The loneliness is simply the feeling that arises when you haven't discovered the presence of yourself. When you're so attached to all of these people and you've been ignoring yourself, it's because you're ignoring yourself that you're feeling this loneliness. It's being so attached to others that creates this feeling of loneliness. Because once these others start disappearing from your life, people move on, you've moved on, relationships end, jobs change. You're so dependent on others. Your identity is so dependent on others. And it's by being alone that you discover yourself. Then it switches. Before, there was this fear of being alone. There's this resistance that you don't want to be alone. There's this feeling that you need others in your life, that you always want to be around people. You always need to call someone. You need to be around someone, hang out with someone. It's really, when you look at it, that you're running from yourself. But by embracing being alone, you feel this sense of connection. You feel like you're connecting with yourself on a deeper level. And you come to enjoy yourself. You're at peace with yourself. You love yourself. You feel free by yourself. And what you're actually tasting is your true nature. So you embrace being alone. You become more familiar with yourself. You get to know yourself. And this feeling of loneliness is history. By getting to know yourself more and more, you realize that you are not separate from anything. That this feeling of loneliness was always coming from this belief in being separate from everything else. So there you depended on these relationships so that you wouldn't feel so separate. It's always about being together with someone to ease this sense of, I feel separate. But by being alone, you start discovering that you aren't separate from anything. This is where you feel very interconnected with everything. The sense of connection. You might feel the connection to nature. This feeling of being totally free, experiencing no borders, no boundaries. Just this feeling of being natural, being yourself. What could be more natural than being yourself? So the solution to the loneliness is being alone. And this aloneness allows you to discover what you are. And now there's no aloneness, but there's all oneness. That nothing is separate. Everything is one. That you are all. All is one and one is all. So this loneliness is just a stage on the journey. It's just a feeling when things start falling away. But things fall away to essentially leave you all alone. And you're left alone so that you can start paying attention to yourself. And you start paying attention to yourself and you get to know yourself. And by getting to know yourself, you realize what you are. And what you are is whole, complete, indivisible. so that you are alone, but you're never lonely. And if everything is one, that one is all and all is one, everything is you. How could you possibly feel lonely when everything is you? Hopefully this helps. I'll see you in the next one.